Hello, I'm Bailey Leasure, and this is the Leasure Sports Podcast. This is also my NFL Week 1 predictions video as well. I'm not going to do separate videos because there's a lot more news regarding some other sports going on, but I'm going to kick it off. Before I start the week predictions, I'm going to talk a little bit about the NFL news. Is now with the season about to start, there's been a bunch of news regarding the NFL that I wanted to talk about. I'm going to kick it off with the Arizona Cardinals news. There was a bit of news. Earlier this week, it was rumored for a little bit that they were looking at Andy Lee, the former 49er and Panther punter, former Pro Bowler, and they signed him and released Matt Wild. They signed Andy Lee to a 1-year deal. Overall, I think it's a great deal. I think they get some veteran presence. He's a much better punter than Matt Wild. Phil Dawson and him, they were teammates for the 49ers. A lot of ex-49ers to think about it. But you got Anton Bethea, Phil Dawson, Andy Lee, and also Alex Boone signed a 1-year deal. The former Pro Bowler and former 49er guard signed him to a 1-year deal. I saw a lot of comments from the Minnesota Vikings, and a lot of people thought he was overrated and he didn't really fit with their run scheme. Who knows? I think it's a decent deal for depth wise, because the Cardinals, they get a veteran lineman on that offensive line, so we'll see what happens there. But overall offensive line, I think really the best players on that line, and it's going to help the ways Jared Valdir and Mike Upati. So the offensive line's looking pretty good. So I think they have to work more towards the pass protection, but also I think at the same time the Cardinals have to really evolve from very pass heavy to that run game with David Johnson, because come on, he's one of the best running backs in the debate for best running backs in the NFL. So we'll see what happens there. Due to the hurricane, moving on, due to the hurricane going on in approaching Florida. The Bucks-Dolphins game has been moved to Week 11 due to the incoming hurricane. Hope everybody that's watching that's in that area, be safe. Special shout-out, I forgot to do this last week, but a shout-out to everybody in Texas. I hope everybody's doing well after the effects of Hurricane Harvey and the storm after that and the flooding that happened. Just hope everything's going well. If anybody's watching, hoping everything's going well with you and your family. So thoughts and prayers are out to you. But that's been moved to Week 11. A lot of people complain because now both those teams will have to play for the next 16 weeks. But I think it's overall more positive than negative, because I think at this point both those teams' families, they're worried about I don't think football's on their minds right now. Both are just hopefully they're hoping that all their families are safe and everything's going well. So I think it's a decent move, but this this kind of does hurt scheduling, and it is a little bit of a risk to player safety. But we'll see what happens. But you know what? I think those players are not really football. I think is not really their number one concern right now. So moving on, Andrew Luck was officially ruled out in Week 1. So Scott Tolzien will be his backup. The backup will start, and Jacoby Brissett, the newly acquired quarterback from New England, will hopefully will be starting. I'll talk about that game in a little bit, but it looks like that injury for Andrew Luck, he really hasn't been able to practice at all during training camp and everything. So that's going to be a huge that's huge. But we'll see what happens there. This could impact the Cardinals because Week 2 is when they face the Colts. So we'll see what happens there. One of the biggest news, I believe yesterday, was Ezekiel Elliott. His suspension was upheld, but because of his impending lawsuit against the NFL in the federal courts and everything, it still makes him eligible for this New York Giants game. So we'll see what happens there. So he will be playing. So it looks like he will be playing Sunday. So the Giant, we'll see how that impacts the Giants. If I was the Giants, I would be preparing in both situations. If he's not going to play, and if he is going to play, so be wary of both running backs and how both those offenses are going to be playing. So if you're the Giants, prepare for as if he's going to be playing, but also have another game plan if he's not playing. So we'll see what happens there. Now I'm going to move on to my NFL Week 1 predictions. I did my NFL 2017 NFL predictions. I'll leave a description or a link in the description if you guys want to check that out. But first matchup, I'm talking about the kicking off the season tomorrow as I'm recording this. The Kansas City Chiefs versus the defending Super Bowl champion New England Patriots. I think this is going to be a decent game. Potentially an AFC Championship matchup, although I don't see the Chiefs being in that. But overall, we'll see how the Pats do without Julian Edelman and his productiveness. But I think the Pats, with kicking it off at home, they're going to have that momentum. I'll take the Patriots. Moving on to probably the least interesting game of the entire week. You have what I've seen by a lot of websites, including ESPN, the Jets being the worst team in the NFL versus the Bills. I'm going to take Buffalo. Raiders Titans. This is an interesting matchup because you got Oakland, who looks like they could be a Super Bowl contender, and then you have the Titans, who are kind of an up and coming team. This is going to be a really good game. I'm going to take the Raiders, but I think it's going to be within a touchdown score. But I think it's going to be a good game. Cardinals Lions, two wild card teams contending. Matthew Stafford, who's got that huge contract. I think it's going to be a really good game. I'm going to take the Arizona Cardinals just because I like the running game a little bit more, and from a defensive standpoint, I like the Cardinals a little bit more, so I'll take them there. Eagles Redskins, another bit NFC East matchup. Overall, I'll take the Redskins and Kirk Cousins. I think Steelers Browns. The Browns just got huge upsetting news. Myles Garrett suffered an ankle injury, and it looks like he could be missing a few games. So we'll see what happens there. But I'll take the Steelers. Le'Veon Bell and everything like that. Jags Warriors Texans. I'll take the Texans with that defense. Falcons Bears. I'm going to take Atlanta. Mike Glennon's going to be the starting quarterback. It was just announced that Mitchell Trubisky, he's now the backup, so he was able to beat Mark Sanchez finally. But I'll take the Falcons. Ravens Bengals. This could be another good game. Those AFC North matchups are pretty interesting, but I'll take the Ravens in that. Colts Rams. If Andrew Luck was starting in this game, I would have taken the Colts, but since he's not, I like the defense with the Rams, and I like Jared Goff and Todd Gurley, so I'll take the Rams. Probably another one of the big games, Seahawks Packers. It's always interesting. You have the Packers, who are a Super Bowl contender once again. Seattle, I feel like, is taking a little bit of a step down, but this will be I think a close game, but I'll take the Packers. Panthers 49ers. I'll take the Panthers. Giants Cowboys, which is the Sunday Night Football game, which I feel like I see at least one of those games as a Sunday Night Football game every year, just because of both those teams and how big those markets when it comes to football. But I will take you know what? Even with Elliott, I'm going to take the Giants. I see a little bit of, not necessarily an upset, but I think the Giants, I think they'll win. Saints Vikings. This is an interesting one of the Monday Night Football matchups. This is the first game Adrian Peterson will be playing in a New Orleans Saint uniform, and it's up against his old team, the Minnesota Vikings. I like the offense better in this matchup. I think the Vikings probably have a better defense, but Drew Brees, and just that, he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, even nearing his 40s. So I'm gonna take the Saints. Chargers Broncos. Even though getting Brock Osweiler back, even though he's not going to be the starter, but this is in Denver, and with that defense, I'll take the Broncos. So those were my predictions for Week 1. I'll recap it next week, and I'm going to keep a count of how right are my predictions every week, and at the end of the season, I'll give you my overall score. But moving on to Major League Baseball news, there's been a lot going on in baseball. I'll start off with the Arizona Diamondbacks right now. They are on a 12-game winning streak, tied for the franchise record they set in 2003. Tonight they will be playing the Dodgers in a series finale. They've already clinched the series win and the overall series against the season series versus the Dodgers. but they have a chance to sweep and extend that streak to a record 13 games. Just the Diamondbacks have just been looking really well, and what's impressing me is that they're in this series and they're playing without Paul Goldschmidt, who's out with that elbow injury. It looks like he'll be back he'll be back soon. I mean, he might even be back tonight. But overall, the Diamondbacks have just been playing really well against division teams, the teams that they should be beating and that you need wins against. Right now, they have a 6.5 game lead over the Rockies. So it's looking like the Diamondbacks, they've been able to gain 9 games on the Dodgers. Now, I think they're still 11.5 back, and I don't see them winning the division, but they've really kind of the Dodgers are just, they've lost, I think, 10 out of their last 11 or something like that. And the Dodgers are not, I know Corey Seager's out, and I know a couple players are hurt, and they're just getting the rotation back, but the Dodgers are not really looking well. Now, it could be a good thing that the Dodgers are not, they're on kind of this skid right now, and it could show, you know what, we can be beat during the postseason, but they need to wake up a little bit before the postseason starts in order to meet, you don't want to go into the postseason cold. You just do not. But the Diamondbacks, I think out of any team in the National League, even though they're a wild card team, they probably have the best chance of beating the Dodgers in the postseason. None of the Diamondbacks, they're going to have that one-game playoff, most likely, if they get in. It will be at Chase Field, but they could be one and done. But at the same time, if they get past that, you know, you're looking at it, you're going to have Greinke in that wild card game, and then you're going to have Robbie Ray, who's 3-0 at that stadium this season. So the postseason, it just matches up well for the Diamondbacks if they face the Dodgers in the postseason, and they've been able to beat them. So the only questions I have is, you know, that bullpen that's been kind of on and off. It's been consistent a little bit more in the last month or so, but we'll see what happens. So, like I said, Goldschmidt, he'd been dealing with some elbow issues. He went actually the Monday game. In the same game, J.D. Martinez hit an historic 4 home runs. I'll talk about him in a little bit. But he went back to Phoenix to get an MRI. Fortunately, there was no structural damage for him. But it's been impressive that they've been doing well even without Goldschmidt in the lineup. But we'll see what happens there. Nick Ahmed, who was coming back from an injury, unfortunately, like I've said before, broke his wrist again. He got surgery on it. Something like he's likely going to be out for the rest of the year. It's unfortunate, but hopefully he comes back strong next season. So, because he's an overall, his bat's a little bit of in question, but I think he's a great shortstop fielder. So we'll see what happens there. J.D. Martinez hit 4 home runs against the Dodgers in a 13-0 win to open the series up. I think the Diamondbacks, they have to find a way to get J.D. Martinez re-signed. I mean, he's going to command a lot of money, but at the same time, you give him that money. It was funny. I saw Diamondback fans making GoFundMe pages to get him back. He's gonna command a lot of money, but if the Diamondbacks, if they can find a way to, I think one of the biggest things that they probably need to do in order to have a shot at him is find a way to get rid of Yasmani Tomas's contract. So that's number one, and just reassess it. Because Martinez, not only he will be a great player for the Diamondbacks, he'll be a fan favorite. But I think it's just knowing you're going to have to pay Paul Goldschmidt, knowing you're paying Zach Greinke right now, and knowing you're probably going to have to pay some of those other players like Pollock and Peralta and Lamb. It's really going to be hard to find a way to give him fit him into the budget. But we'll see what happens there. Like I said, the Dodgers, they've been going through some woes. Like they need to wake up. Cleveland Indians are on a 13-game winning streak, so it's good for them. And really, Astros have been looking good recently. But if you ask me who's going to win the American League, I'd probably take the Indians just because they were in the World Series last year and they know how to get it done. So, but I think the American League Championship Series will be Houston and Cleveland. But we'll see what happens there. Lastly, I'm going to talk about basically the recent scandal that we found out yesterday. The Red Sox admitted to using Apple Watches to steal signs from the Yankees. I don't think, they're using technology. That's the only thing. I mean, usually teams do that. They try to read the other team's signs, but I think it's more ridiculous because, I mean, it's the city of Boston. It's a Boston professional team, you're in the same city as the New England Patriots, who've had so many a couple scandals over the years with Spygate and Deflategate. So immediately you're going to compare this to Belichick and all that, and Brady and everything like that. But it's what, they admitted to it. It's not going to last as long as Deflategate or Spygate, thank God. But they're calling it Apple Watchgate. So it's ridiculous, but whatever. That's it for the podcast this week, and thanks everybody for watching. Comment on your views on topics I talked about. Are my predictions wrong? Who do you think the Cowboys will beat the Giants? Who do you think's gonna win this week? I'd love the feedback. Like I said before, check in the description box for the link to my 2017 NFL predictions video. Like I've said before, I'm a regular guest unofficially now on the Guns N' Roses Central podcast. I was on another podcast this past Monday. I'll leave a link in the description below. Subscribe if you like the content of my channel, and please, if you like the video, click like. So thanks everybody for watching, and I will see you all later.